This is day 668 of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi. Today's Arukh HaShulchan Yomi is sponsored by Reb Daniel Kislin for his chus for a four shlema for his father, Avram Schai ben Miriam. Should have a four shlema, Mir Tashem Makarov. If you'd like to sponsor a coming share more of the Arukh HaShulchan Yomi, please contact me directly. Be greatly appreciated. Today we are doing Shin Tzadik Tes, Dalid, the Shin Tzadik Tes, Yud Beis. Excuse me, Dalid. They'll connect it here. Should only go measure opposite the city. But even the opposite of the city, as you go out from the city, there are mountains and valleys. Don't detour around them. Negative ear to don't go around them to the extent you're going to go outside the parameters of the city. Where the place is, where the place would be straight, and measure there, and then come back to the city. According to the measure you measured there, in order to absorb the hills and the valleys in the 2,000 amos. You have to remain in the shatak, so to speak, of the city. Mr. Bur says, look, if there's, he says differently. He says if opposite the city. No, it's not that different. He said, and if opposite the city there's a place where it's smooth, then don't go in a place opposite the city where it's hilly or valley, a hill or valley, but go in a place where it's smooth. Okay, obviously they're not detouring beyond the parameters of the city, so it shouldn't be a problem. Back to Arukh HaShulchan. But if you meet up a mountain, if the mountain is so steep, so not steep, vertical. It's not suitable for walking there. To the point that if you lower a plumb line, may Rosh Shahar from the top of the mountain, Ara goes to the foot of the mountain, Lois like a shibum, you know how Rosh Arba Zemshech, it won't sway out 4 amos from sheer vertical. Us ain't do cloud shibul they don't count the incline of the mountain at all. Not above nor below. If there's a plane on the top of the mountain, then a measure there. And if not, answer the cloud. Then you don't have to measure it at all. Since you can't get up to it at all, I guess. But if the incline is not so steep, Hashipul says, I'm not sure that probably is a typo, but that means when you drop the plumb line. The plumb line goes more from away from the vertical, from the top of the mountain. The guy chamesh amos, and it also goes up 10 fachim. It goes 10 fachim within 5 amos. Within 5 amos of the incline. It goes 10 tvachim high. Velomi call them, not before that. Then we see, which is of course more gradual than the 10 by 4, which you normally speak about by Thomas Lackett. So we look, if there isn't from the edge of the mountain to the edge of the mountain, only 50 amos, then you just absorb it in the measure of that of the measuring rope, which is 50 amos, which means she's okay. So put up a high stick on this side, another high stick on the other side, and stretch the rope from one to the other. But you can see exactly what the midah is. Hey, being the field, you're sign, but according to the visual perspective, you can't. It doesn't seem like the hill is going to be encompassed by the 50 amma long rope. But some room, in this case, they said we drill the hills in the mountain. What does it mean? You measure with a rope of 4 amos. Echad Omed Baragli Har. One person stands at the bottom of the hill. Lamata on the Echad Rolim and Arbos Malan, the other one 4 amos away from him going up the hill. The guy on the bottom puts the rope opposite his heart, and the guy on top puts the rope opposite his legs. Here's a nice picture from the Perush Chai. Further here. No, side. You can see that there's one fellow has it opposite his legs, guy on top, and the other body opposite his heart, guy on the bottom. So that's called Makadrin. Then the bottom guy goes to the top, where the place the top guy stood. The guy on top goes 4 amos more up the hill. Can be cut him as previously. And Modin can measure as did previously. Zekaneg Raglov, Zekaneg Libo, this guy opposite his feet, and this guy opposite his heart. Pay so close what that's to do until they finish the mountain. But if it's steeper, that means that the string is 4. The string is distance is 4 amos. If you put it's 4 amos, if you put the one by the leg and the other by the foot by the head, so it can't be as gradual. It's a much steeper incline than the one before, because before it was like this, and now it's let's use a picture here. Before it was this not gonna work unless this guy puts the rope opposite his head, which we have here. Otherwise, it's not gonna get 4 amos. But it's not 10 to 5 ratio, and we talk arba, but a 10 to 4 ratio. Shabalius amos by going when you go up 4 amos, you start go start talking, then it's 10 fachim. It's already gone up 10. It's gone up 10 fachim in 5 amos. As a kilba keep us 18. Then they didn't require you to put to use the 50 amos by 50 amo wire, 50 amo rope up high on string on the poles. But if you reckon that it's not more than 50 amos, you can use your visual estimate. How much it is, and reckon it that way. But if there's more than 50 amos there, well, then you're stuck. But you got to do the rope for 4 amos. Because since the string can go 4 amos and somehow remain straight, it's suitable to walk on. It's not too steep. We should be able to see that some poskim hold that even in this case, it's enough to assess visually, since it's mislakit 10 amos out of 10 every 4 amos. The Agra is also making this that it could be that in such case you can go with visual perspective. So again, case where you require Makadrin or require putting the rope up on top of poles is where it is 10 tfachim height and 5 tfachim length, 10 to 5 ratio. When it's 10 to 4 ratio, then you can try, you can estimate, unless you can't really estimate, or in which case, you can estimate it's less than 50 amos. Yes, it's more than 50 amos, then according to Arukh HaShulchan, you have still to Makadrin. According to the Mishnah, you can still use a visual assessment. This is about a hill. What about if you get to a trench? Vav, higila guy, if you reach a trench, hamata min hamala arba amos. If you have the plumb line gets more than 4 amos away from vertical. Here's a picture of going down into a valley trench. This would be vertical. It's more than 4 amos away from vertical. Um, so that's suitable to walk. I'm not sure exactly how, but in any event, us rowing in Kol Avliya b'Chevel Shel Chavishma Avliya, you can include in compensate in a 50 amma rope. You can compensate. If not, Balkorli b'Chevel Shel Abraham, you got to go to the 4 amma the Kadrin. When the guy include when mislak some chamish or some arba or the arba doesn't make difference to ratio whether it's 10 to 5 or 10 to 4. Mission that mislak a certain arba, because even it's 10 out of 4, which is steep. Tzarich medida dafka. You have to specifically measure it. V'chein avoid perish Rashi, and that's the Rashi, the Rambam, Berchav Ches, Rash Basal. So the guy Shul is also different by valley. When I love Magid Mishnah, some Magid Mishnah asked the question, how could that be? Zion, not guy in Yaakov. It's different actually by valley. Down in Zewako, Kshen guy Omak Yoser. Now Paimama. That's if it's not more than 2,000 amas deep. On the Omak Yoser Mishir Tchum Shabbos is more than 2,000 amas deep. Ain't have to bavlo. You can't absorb it. Modei idea balia kekarga chalaka. Rather you measure the depth and the ascent as if it's smooth ground. The Chosh you're gonna measure the whole slope. Lama Lamu came hard. Why do you have to say this by mountain? Really, Mishum Mahar Yesh Okula. The Gova Kazet is by mountain. There's a kula, which we can apply. The ain't tchum the malmei asara. There's no tchum about 10 tefachim. There is a tchum below 10 tefachim. Ain't tchum mishkos mitzvah arba amos. The plumb line does not go 4 amos distance. Then if you can absorb it with the 50 amma rope, you do it. If you have not eno moded cloud, you don't measure all the slope. Mishamata, but rather the surface at the bottom, down here. Even it's 110 2,000 amas deep. Amas hey. I'm sorry, these are also complicated and rarely applied. I think connect them. Even the plumb line goes directly down opposite him. Shamarna, we said, you only measure the surface on the bottom. If you can't absorb it, and even it's deeper than 2,000 amos, you can't go nevertheless, nevertheless, it shouldn't be more than 4,000 amos deep. High and chum. But don't bring this down. I don't really understand it, says Arukh HaShulchan. Ben Bahar Ben Bagai, that we say, but whether it's a mountain, whether it's a valley, the Chshuta Mishkos Misarchek Amata Minamal Arba Amos Nikroy Hiluch. This is what I was wondering about before, actually. The fact that it goes 4 amos out, it's called suitable to walk. The Tame Rob is astonishing. The guy Shlomko Alpai Mama, the valley goes down 2,000 amos. Echel Shavli Crows, Roy Hiluch. High goes suitable for eating. For walking, sorry. The flows are bound just because it's 4 amos deviation. Mesha Godel da Pai Mama in the text of more than 2,000 amos. Same by Hakshabar, sending with the mountain, which is very tall. There was the Rambam Lego Klaus Shur da Ramos. One doesn't mention this 4 amos shear in the plumb line, but Chud Mishkos Yor Connected, but that's go directly down and Sham. Besides the Magar Sham, ain't Chud Mishkos Yor Connected, Kama and Arba, which it says that if the plumb line does not go directly down, but rather up to 4 amos, Enum Mefarish at Arba amos compared to Shashin. This does explain 4 amos like Rashi places. No, make a guy, she had Arba Lofi Mama. It's referring to the depth of the valley that it's up to 4,000 amos. Was that so? Do you know that's how he drives halacha? Abim they are connected to Farish. So that's what he says. That's something else about the depth of 4,000 amos. But this thing about not going directly down the plumb line, Farish should put royal halach. They'll go not by a shear, but what's reasonable to be considered able to walk, not able to walk. Anything which is deeper or higher. You have to have more of an incline in order to be considered to be royal hiluch. And brackets it says the right places. Yes, the Rashbam. Some the Ramas the Bechit Tzarich and Garo. How they between the sugi is difficult. The Bia Long then says up to 2,000 amas. There's no difference in the depth. Whether it's 20 amas or 50 or 1,000 or more. Everything has to do with whether it's more than 4 amas distant from the exact vertical line. Even though there's 2 amos of slope, in any event, it's a little bit easier to use than uh, um, 4 amos of a very large. I'm not sure what it means in there. Yeah, okay. It says as long as there's a 4 amma deviation, even though I said it's easier to do something which is only a 2 amma deviation. If it's short, then there's a 4 amma deviation. If it's extremely high, nevertheless, that's Midas Rachamim. So this, and the Arukh HaShulchan here is kind of like looks at the time of the crowd and he says, I can't be kapash, and the Mishnah Berurah says, that's the way Midas Rachamim kachem. It's an interesting difference in Shita. Test. There's no need to make a meaning of law. In terms of the absorbing of the 50 amos. She's bar bahar bagay, explained by a mountain in the valley. If you can absorb it, it's more than 50 amos, and obviously it looks like more than 50 amos. According to the opinion, you can make a visual assessment. And you need a 4 amma makajin tool. The Chazal said, if you can't, even if you can't detour around it within the expanse of the city itself, between the point of the bottom and the point at the top of the city. But if you go further, you can absorb it. Go into Arima Grios and such as where the hills and mountains are on the east of the city. Opposite the city, can't absorb them. But if you go further north, or further north because of here, then you can't absorb them. You have Leo Sham, you should absorb there. You go back, you go outside the shetach, outside the area, and then we come back when it is convenient to come back. So we have here several alternatives. But basically what he's referring to here would be going, you would go out, you go out over here, and go around here to the outside of the city, go outside the city, going back in. Here's a case where obviously you can come, when you come back in, you would actually be able to do within 50 amas of the wall, but otherwise you just go all the way around and come back on that side. Yeah. So then you go back to the area within the city. We don't go more 2,000 amas beyond the northern boundary of the city or the southern boundary of the city. If you can't absorb within those 2,000 amas, they shouldn't go further in order to absorb it for a very interesting reason. Because you're going more than 2,000 amas from the end of the city to north and to south, they're going to say that, let's say you go 3,000 amas. Because then you can be mavliha, and then you're going to make this thing say that Tchum on that side goes to 3,000 amas to the south. It doesn't. So therefore, there shouldn't be mavliha any more than 2,000 amas in the other direction, such as north and south, of the direction which you're going, which is east and west. You can allow an expert surveyor knows how to survey the ground. Shmuel says if he's bucky in surveying, no, it shows be halacha bucky in the halacha surveying. But sometimes if he doesn't know halacha, he can come to chumrah and vice versa. because we find several halachas which are deviate from the principles of surveying. Okay, back to Arukh HaShulchan. He has to be somebody who knows the survey sheish, but there is chachma and expertise, knowledge and expertise how to measure. As the crow flies, not by how the path swerves. Most paths swerve in this direction, that direction. If we had Tchumei Shabbos, which you know till here is Tchum Shabbos, and an expert came with Shina and changed it, added or subtracting. Shomim listened to Amakushiba in place where he was more lenient and added. Kosher Makushi in certain places more stringent and detracted. Barmina, we say that P Meshach Hazman, over time, we say Nishtan Tzad Zev, the sides change. Mehar Lemishor, Mishor, from flat to mountain, or from a mountain to flat, or from flat to mountain, or the guy, or to a valley, etc. Barmina told me, we don't say people made mistakes, but we say it will change over time. That which individual surveyor can change the prior assumption should be cholos to barrier, because you can check it out. Anything you can check out. People don't lie about such things. Which says it's clear that say about when we don't know the chazaka. First chazaka was done by the measuring of an expert, because if that was the case, we wouldn't listen to the second one unless he came to be machmir, not to be makom. Arukh HaShulchan doesn't sound like he agrees with that. Arukh HaShulchan seems to say that since the terrain can change, it doesn't matter. We'll believe the same guy whether it's machmir or makom. Yurav Dava Baruch Hu, it's clear that that which we square off sides is only by the house of the city and the extensions, not the tchumen. Klor meaning the client's Bible seem cool code and we'll learn people simon, the by Salome, but they here, if a certain house protrudes beyond the other houses of the city, mostly in Samira, so we also take out the measure on the other sides of that house in order to even up. So the houses of the extension, Shimam is 2 Tamos, but see somebody on the side of Shani, we extend the meter also the other side. You should take Ibur year, so there should be extension for the city. And we extend the Tchum from there. Locain B'Tchumim, but that's not the case by Tchumin. In other words, that's true about the city, but not by a Tchum. What does it mean? Such as, let's say, in the northeast corner, there were no hills or valleys. And there was a long tchum. In the southeast, there were hills and valleys. Like they said, tchum, and the southeast, the tchum became narrower. You don't square it off with the northeast. In the northeast, you go according to its midah. The shel mizrach jumps in the southeast, al pi medida shalah, and according to its midah. The chen kol and anything similar to that. Okay, it's a bit of a chiddush. In other words, you're always going, even though by the city you're always going to even out. By the tchumim, I guess we have these hills and valleys. It's not necessarily going to come out to be a perfect square or a perfect line. Yeah. Okay. Let's see here. A picture of that. Take it and face, so to speak. Okay. Your base. He says, this is what the Torah writes, what we just said. That you find that the measure is more on the northeast than on the southeast. You make the you make the tchum as an angle. That's a rush. That's a mini rush. You do square off even the end of the tchum. Ramah brings both opinions. like the gra that you actually square off, and that's a kula. Um, back to Arukh HaShulchan. Don't think that according to Rashi, you go you go up towards the you go to the towards the longest possible measurement. The head of Beresh Mishnah time is Talim Batos. He says no reason because assuming it's a mistake. Shemalo Masacha Cheba Kotzok begins that maybe in this corner he didn't pull out the measuring rope as tautly as he did elsewhere. Rest relay, the Rosh holds the Lotlim Batos El Tlin the Bitsad HaKotzar Hayoring V'Gils. Again, we don't say that there's a mistake, but we say that there were hills and mountains where it came out shorter, and just like with contrary, they make it go to extend further. Let's see what the issue is. It's a question of Arab. It's difficult to clarify. So if I say Mumchi the next one, remember about Mumchi Vara, the Tafka Mumchi comes and clarifies what the issue is. Nasir we will talk and follow the ruling which he imposes upon us.